Hey everybody, I'm the Dolphoneer and welcome to the first ever podcast. And yeah, pod is supposed to mean a group of dolphins, so it's kind of like a fun little pun, even though it doesn't really make any sense because I'm the only dolphin here. But I guess as long as you're a subscriber to Dolphoneer, you're an honorary dolphin for the day. So you can go out there and do dolphin things. And as you can tell, this is totally unscripted, so I have no idea where this is going to go. Well, I somewhat know where this is going to go. I have a list here of things that I want to get to and talk about with you guys. And I've wanted to do this for a while now. I just didn't know what format to do it in or how to do it. Because I used to do podcasts before. I used to make an attempt at doing them. And I feel like I really wasn't comfortable with talking. So they didn't go over very well. They were kind of poopy. But now I know what I want to talk about. And we'll see how this goes. So this is going to be like a continuous unedited stream of me talking about stuff. So if you like the sound of my voice and you like my goofy ass jokes, then you'll definitely like this podcast. So the reason why I wanted to do this is because if you don't know who I am, I used to be an animator. Now I do live streams of video games and stuff like that. And there's a few things I wanted to talk about since when I stream, I often get asked multitudes of questions, and I never really get to talk about a specific topic for very long, because I'm constantly engaging with the chat and, answering different questions. So the topics tend to switch around very rapidly. So I don't get to, intimately go into a topic and really talk about how I feel about it, especially since I'm playing a game at the same time. So it's hard for me to, multitask sometimes. Sometimes I get derailed and by the game and by the chat. So I don't get to, fully express my opinion on certain things. So but don't worry, this isn't going to be like some crazy religious or political thing. Like, this is my podcast is never going to get very it's never going to get political, I guess. It's not going to be super opinionated. I mean, I am going to talk about my opinion on things, but it's always going to be about movies and video games, and we're going to keep it chill. We're going to keep it real light, so you don't have to worry about it getting too crazy. So I want to use the podcast as a way to communicate some things to you guys, like frequently asked questions. I got a list here of questions that I get asked, and obviously, I'm not some big YouTuber, so people don't know these very general things about me. So new people come into the stream all the time, and I literally answer these questions a million times every stream. So I'm going to I'm gonna answer them now, so that way you guys can spread the word, I guess. So if someone new comes into the stream and, they ask a question, then you guys will obviously know. So here's some of the few FAQs that I'm frequently asked. My name is Pat, by the way. You can call me, my full name is Patrick, but I prefer Pat. You can call me Dolphoneer. You can call me Dungeoneer if you're a fan back from the Dungeoneer days. We're also going to get into that a little bit too. But yeah, just call me whatever, I guess. Just don't be a douchebag about it. What is your age? At the time of recording this, I'm 26. But obviously, if this is 10 years into the future, for all you future space people who are listening to this, I was 26 at the time of recording this. Hopefully, I'm still alive. Hello, future people who are listening to this. Where do you live? I live in America, and that's pretty much as I want to divulge to my audience. I don't want to tell them where I live and then I see people on my lawn. So another thing too is I try to be as authentic and as genuine as I possibly can with my audience. There's a lot of fake stuff on YouTube where people are playing a character or they're playing an exaggerated version of themselves, and in most cases there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not real most of the time. When you see a YouTuber, it's always an exaggerated version of themselves, and I didn't want to do that. I tried to do it in the beginning when I did Super Dolphin and some earlier stuff that I did a long time ago. I tried to be my voice wasn't normal, and I tried to play up things and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but for me, I'd rather be genuine with the way that I talk, and what you see is what you get. It's very WYSIWYG. I don't know if anyone knows what that means, but WYSIWYG means what you see is what you get. And it's usually a term for tabletop games like 40K and Warhammer Fantasy and stuff like that. I don't know if anyone even knows what I'm talking about right now. But yeah, I want the me on screen. Well, I don't really show my face anymore, but I want the me that you see on YouTube to be the same me that would be in any everyday situation. So it's the same me, the same beliefs, the same attitude, the same catitude. So this is why I need a script, so I don't say stupid shit like this, but so that what you see is what you get. I feel like a lot of YouTubers run into this problem where they start YouTube as a character. They pretend to be someone else, and their audience gets used to that. They get used to seeing this one type of person, but in reality, like when they meet the YouTuber, they're not like that in real life. Or a YouTuber starts off playing as a character, but then, obviously that gets boring after a while. Obviously you want to be yourself. Like, it's exhausting trying to be someone else. So eventually they try to like be themselves, and what happens is their audience is suddenly like, whoa, he's changing, or she's changing. I don't like it. She's changing. But they're actually not changing. They're being more comfortable, and they're becoming themselves. So I don't want that to ever happen with me. So what you see is what you get. This is me. I don't think I'm ever going to change. This is probably what I'm going to be like in 10 years or something. If I'm still on YouTube, this is what I'm going to be like in 10 years. It's never going to change. So I want to be as authentic as I possibly can. But also, the reason why I'm telling you all this is because I also am a very personal person. I'm also a very like introverted person, and I really don't want to put my life out there. Like, a lot of YouTubers put way too much information out there, and it's not that I'm worried about anyone criticizing me or mocking me or like following me to my house or something, but like, I don't know. I'm a private person, and there's just certain things I just don't want to talk about, like, my love life and, like personal stuff. Like, I feel like that doesn't have a place on YouTube, especially for a channel like mine. Like, if you're a vlogger, then yes, like, you have to open up and show your entire life, but I'm much more of a private person, so obviously what I'm leading into is like, don't ask me like super private questions, because I'm not going to answer them. But maybe at one point, maybe I'll talk more about it. I mean, there's nothing like weird. Like, I'm a pretty like average person. Like, there's nothing exciting going on in my life. So don't think that I'm like actually like an octopus or something, or like I actually am like a real dolphin or something like that. Like, someone sees a picture of me and I'm like, oh Jesus, he is a dolphin. Like, I'm like a deformed like dolphin person. Obviously people can find out what I look like, or find out where I live, or find out more about me if they really search for it. It's not like I'm hiding this information. It's you can see what I look like if you really try hard enough, but I just don't want to put it out there because I don't know. I found that I have a lot of anxiety with social stuff. This is getting deep. I didn't even mean to get this deep. We're not even to the point where I'm supposed to be talking about deep stuff yet. I'm skipping over some things in the list, but I don't know. I used to use a face cam when I streamed, and I used to use a face cam when I did my Let's Plays, but it felt weird to me. Like, I didn't really, it's not like I'm embarrassed about how I look. It's nothing like that. It's just, I don't know. It just feels weird to show people my face, and like to have like tons of unknown people see you, but you can't see them. And I don't know, like when I used to stream, it would give me like really bad anxiety because I don't know, like I was always worried about what my face looked like if I was like emoting enough, because I feel like I have like a very paralyzed face. Like I don't really make many expressions. I feel like my face is very like stoic. Like not like a bitch face, but like I just don't, the way I feel doesn't come out in my face, if that makes any sense. Like I don't emote enough, and I'm just afraid that if I had the face cam, like it doesn't come off properly, or like I'm always afraid that like I'm gonna like itch myself inappropriately or something like that, and then I'm like, oh shit, the face cam's on, like, you know, or like, you know, just something in the background happens that I can't control, and people see something, or like, you know, I get up and like my ass falls out or something. I don't know, like it always scares me, and like I overthink like everything about it. But as soon as I stopped using the face cam, I realized that it was so much easier. Like I was focused way more on playing the game and doing the commentary, and it helped me. Like when you stop worrying about things, you can talk about things much easier. That's kind of obvious, like, because I'm not worrying about what my face looks like, and am I moving around enough? Am I all super duper crazy? Because like some YouTubers are like all over the place, like they exaggerate their reactions, like something jumps out and scares them. They just like take their headset and just whip it at the wall and break it, and they're just like, ugh! Like that. I don't know. I don't do that, so like obviously that's a fake reaction, but I just can't do that. So I feel like it's just me sitting there with like a stoic face, just like, and now we're playing this game. I don't know. It was much easier to much easier to just like focus on what I was talking about, and it made me feel less self-conscious and less anxious and stuff. I mean, I still have anxiety when when I turn a excuse me, I gotta drink some tea. This episode brought to you by tea. It's good and shit. So I'm trying not to like edit anything out, but I'm already getting out of breath. I don't know, how do I stream and do this? This doesn't even make any sense. I don't know why I'm out of breath now, but so yeah, it's sorry for all the breaths. It's just like 40 minutes of me going, but yeah, so that's that. A lot of people ask me about the face cam too. I didn't even have that in my list of things to talk about, so it's kind of weird. It's also because I need to chill out. I need to just like calm down. I'm like speaking at a million words a second, but that's also another thing that I get asked a lot about is where's the face cam? Like, why don't you use the face cam? Well, now you know why I don't use the face cam. It causes me anxiety. Long story short. Another thing that people always ask me about is, what is your favorite blank? What is your favorite movie? What is your favorite character? Usually pertaining to Overwatch. What is your favorite game? And for me, favorites are hard because my favorites are always changing. Like, I really don't know anyone who's ever had a favorite blank their entire life. You know what I mean? Like, I've never met a single person who was like, I love Metallica, like, and that's all I listen to is Metallica, or I like the Bee Gees, all I listen to is the Bee Gees. I'm staying alive 24/7. Yeah, I've never met anyone who just plays like one game, or I know that's not the meaning of a favorite, but it's hard for me to have a favorite because I am an enthusiast about games. I mean, I'm not an enthusiast about music. I'm pretty open-minded to music. Like, I like a lot of different things, except for country, but I mean, country's not even music at this point. Country music is literally just an advertisement for loving America, and it's all just like buzzwords. I got my beer, I got my country flag, I got my big truck, and my girlfriend. She looks so beautiful in her short jeans, yeah, short shorts. I love the summertime down by the river, down by the dirt road, driving down my truck. I've got a big wiener. Like, that's pretty much all country songs now. It's just like buzzwords, like beer, Jesus, girl, country road. It's just buzzwords, like, at this point. Like, it's not even a song anymore. It's just, they just have like a drag and drop, like, doot doot doot, like, just put the words in a different order every song. But anyway, I'll listen to pretty much anything except for country. I can't, like, I'm an open-minded person. Like, if you knew me in real life, I am a very open-minded person, but country music is just that one thing that I cannot get by. I mean, old country music is good because it was a little bit more from the heart, and it was a little bit more authentic, and like, they meant what they were saying. But now, if you really listen to country music, it's like, it's meant to manipulate people, and it's meant to like reach for that patriotic feeling, you know? I mean, like, country music is like the, never mind, whatever, we're going, I hate country music, anyway, that's, i.e., I hate country music, but, as for games, it's hard to say what my favorite is, because I just have so many good memories with video games, so it's hard for me to choose, like, a favorite one. It's like trying to choose a favorite child, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many games that I've had good experiences with, and it's changing over time. Like, I'm constantly finding new games that I'm like, whoa, like, just recently, I beat Resident Evil 7, and god damn, it was good. I mean, it's a short game. It took me about 10 hours to beat it the first time, and then I think 8 or 9 hours to beat it the second time, but it was fantastic. It was such a good game. And Dying Light was another good one, and obviously Overwatch is a really fantastic game. So it's hard for me to choose a favorite. It's hard for me to be like, oh, that's the one. Like out of all the great experiences I've had, like that's the one that means the most to me. I mean, there's games from my childhood that definitely have like a really big impact, but I still can't really say those are my favorite. And I think in another podcast I'll go more into those because that's something I could talk at length for. Like, I'll start doing it on the stream. I'll just be like, oh my god, do you remember this game? And like, I'll start talking about it. But, you know, it's hard for me to talk at length about stuff on the stream because I'm constantly like talking. Doing a live stream is like having 8 conversations at once because everyone in the chat could be talking about something different, but you, like, they're all talking to you, but you're also talking to them individually. It's kind of crazy. It's probably why I'm getting like onset dementia. It's because like I have to like keep track of like 8 different conversations and play a game at the same time and try to think of something funny. But like that's that. Yeah. Once again, like that's why I wanted to do the podcast so I can be more, you know, just like in my own pace. At my own pace, I can just talk about what I want to. So. So like to say a favorite anything is kind of impossible. So it's hard for me to say what my favorite anything is because I have so many. I mean, if you guys want me to talk about my favorites, I can definitely do that. I could do that for hours because I've played from the Sega Genesis to the Xbox One. I've played pretty much every single console, and I've owned pretty much every single console, I believe, besides the PS4 at this point anyway. What is the next question? Where did Dungeoneer come from? So, actually, should I get to this yet? I don't know. Let me look at my list. This is a very out of order list. Who the hell wrote this? I'm gonna fire my assistant. Oh wait, I don't have an assistant. Alright, I should probably start with this one. I'll skip ahead here. Why I started... Actually, what time are we at now? We are at 17 minutes. Jesus, I thought I'd been talking for like a million hours now. Anyway, why I started YouTube. This is something that constantly comes up because a lot of people in my stream are interested in YouTube themselves. I feel like YouTube is a very accessible thing, much more so than it was back in the day. Because, I mean, anyone at this moment, anyone can go on YouTube right now and get a partnership immediately and start making money. You won't be making millions, but at least you have the option to start making money, you know what I mean? So, a lot of people always ask me, like, how do I start doing YouTube? Why you started YouTube? Things like that. So that's what I'm going to cover right. I'm waving my hands around even though you can't see me. I don't know why I'm doing that. So why I started YouTube? Well, this is something. This is also another thing for like another podcast that I'm going to go into. But this is like just like a light breeze through some of the history. I have always wanted to be a writer. I've always been a writer. Like, as far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a writer. And, like, creating stories and stuff like that has always been a huge interest to me because I love getting a reaction from people. Like, a positive reaction. Like, there's some people who, like, you know, they'll go to their next door neighbor and, like, shit on their lawn just to see them get angry. I know, I'm not talking about, like, that kind of reaction. Like, invoking an emotional reaction. Like, I love seeing the surprise or the suspense in someone's face as I'm telling them a story. And that's what really drew me into writing in the first place. And then the second thing that really drew me into writing was playing video games. Because I'm a huge escapist. Like, I like to live in my head. And for the majority of my life, I think I've done that. I still do it now. And, I'm always thinking of scenarios in my head, and like, you know, I used to work in an electronics store, and I had to guard the door sometimes. And me and actually another guy that worked there actually talked about this. Like, we would have this fantasy in our head of like a robber comes in and like he's got a gun, or like a bunch of robbers come in and they hold out the place, and like we become the heroes. We like do backflips and like disarm the robber and stuff, and then we like save the day. And that's the kind of stuff that I've done my whole life, is like fantasize about things happening. Like, you know, aliens or zombies come down in the school and like I become the hero or something like that. Like, I've done that my entire life, where I've always I've always fantasized different situations and stuff, and I know fantasize has like this sexual connotation to it, but I don't mean it like that. Like I didn't like I want to have sex with a robber. Like that's not what I'm talking about. But like video games fed into this quite a bit because my first experiences with writing was pretty much swapping out the main character with myself. So the earliest thing I can remember writing was a game called Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross is, I don't know if it's a direct sequel to Chrono Trigger, but it was a very bizarre, hard to follow a Japanese RPG for the PlayStation. Chrono Cross was. Chrono Trigger, I believe, was for Super Nintendo. I did beat Chrono Trigger. I don't think I ever beat Chrono Cross. But anyway, so Chrono Cross was, maybe it wouldn't be as confusing to me now because I'm older, but when I first played it, I was pretty young, so a lot of the ideas just went right over my head. Plus, it was a very confusing plot line to begin with, because, like, the main character, like, switches bodies with, like, the main bad guy at some point. It's very bizarre, but, it was an interesting story, but, like, I would put myself as the main character, and that was the first one I did, I believe. And I would like write different situations where I was the main character, but like I had control of the story. It's very bizarre. And then like another one too was Legend of Dragoon. And I don't still have these stories, by the way, but I would type them up on my computer, and I did like one of the Legend of Dragoon, like that voice crack. There's probably gonna be a lot of voice cracks, so prepare yourself. There might be a voice crack counter on the screen, but Legend of Dragoon was another big one for me too, where I pretended I was Dart and like, or no, I didn't even pretend I was Dart. I pretended that like the storyline was going on, but then I just like stepped in, like there's like a war and dragons and shit, and I'm just like, hey guys, what's up? It's like Scarce when Scarce walks out from behind the tree. Hey guys, what's going on? Like, it's essentially that, where like I would implement myself into the story and then like see how the story would change with me in the story. I'm sure none of them made any sense. I'm sure there was no concept behind any of these other than me just being like a badass. Dragon Ball Z was another one too, where I would implement like ideas of Dragon Ball Z. Anyway, so I loved to write as a little kid, and I developed that skill throughout high school and into college, and I never took like a formal class on how to write, but I knew that I loved writing. So a big thing that I did was I started actually writing my own stories. And, because, like, if I finally graduated from, like, taking other concepts, like, I'm in Final Fantasy now, or I'm in Metal Gear Solid now. I actually made, like, a really goofy Solid Snake one, which made no sense. Like, I was Solid Snake, but, like, there was, like, this base underwater, and I was, like, being shipped in on a helicopter, and, like, I'd jump off the helicopter into the ocean and, like, swim my way down to this base. I would love if I could actually find those stories. I'm pretty sure they're gone forever, but I would love to read one just to see like how bizarre it was and how like little of sense it makes. And so I started writing my own stories with my own original concepts and everything. And it wasn't until like college that I realized that you can actually make a living writing books. Like you can actually be an author because you can actually like self-publish your own stuff. And that's what I ended up doing, was I actually self-published my own book. Now the book since then has been taken off the market because I really want to rewrite it or do something else with it, but I'll get to that even further into the story. So the book that I wrote was taken off the website by me. Like, it wasn't taken off by them, it was taken off by me. So I retired the book, and I sold maybe like 5 copies of it. But before I retired it, so this is I love how I'm talking about telling stories, but I'm like telling the worst possible story ever. Like everything's like disjointed and out of order. So that's why I started YouTube, was because I wrote my own book and I self-published it. Now, there's a lot of complicated stuff to go into when you talk about publishing a book, or publishing anything really. So I'm going to give you like a light course on what goes into it. So you can publish something with a publishing company. Let's say you have a book and you want to get it printed and you want to get it in Barnes & Noble and stores across the world. Well, to do that, you need to get a publishing company. The publishing company handles the printing, they handle the distribution, they handle the marketing, the advertising, they do all that stuff. You don't have to do anything. You just basically give them the book, but that's the problem. You give them the book. You give them the rights to the book. So you technically don't even own that book anymore. I'm pretty sure like bigger authors like Tolkien and J.K. Rowling, like they bought the rights to the book back once they became more successful. At least I think they did. I'm not really sure if they did. I know Tolkien did. But that doesn't happen for everyone. That's like a very small few, I believe. So if I were to publish my book with someone, which is a huge, you have to jump through hoops and hoops and hoops to get your book published, even to begin with. But if I did get it published, I lose all the rights and I get royalties, which is basically a small percentage of every book sold. So let's say I give it to, this publisher, and now I get like 3% of every book sold, which really isn't that much. But I mean, unless it's like a bestseller or something. But it's a whole crazy process. And I think I published the book when I was like 20 or 21. So a process like that, because you need a lawyer and like all this other stuff, and that was something that was just way over my head. So there's this alternate form of publishing called self-publishing, where you can basically put your book online in an ebook form. So it's a digital format, and since it's digital, there's no fees, there's no nothing, there's no paper. You don't have to. It's free to make a digital copy of something. So I opted to go with that because it's much easier. Now, the pluses to being a self-publisher is you get to keep all the money yourself. There is a fee for using the website. I use the Lulu. There is a fee for using the website, but it's not really that bad, I don't think, anyway. You get to name your own price. You get to make maximum profits. You get to control the rights of your book, which is like the monumental, most important thing to publishing. It's like you get to keep the rights. There's so many people who like, they love a book and then they turn it into a shitty movie, and the reader goes, why did they turn that into a shitty movie? Like, why would the author ever let that happen? And it's usually because the author has no say in it. The author doesn't have the rights to the book anymore. So once they give up the rights to the publishing company could just go and take it and do whatever they want with it. So they can make it as many shitty movies as they possibly want to. I mean, you still get the money for it, but like, you totally lose control of your thing. And that's something that I never wanted to happen, because I really like to do things my own way, and like, it would suck if someone else was dictating what I had to do. So I went with self-publishing. Now, the biggest downfall to self-publishing is you don't have advertisement and you don't have distribution. So the company that I had gone with, you could make printed copies of your book, but you couldn't. I would have to sell them myself. Like, I would have to physically go out to Barnes and Noble and say, hey, can you please carry my book? And then like strike a deal with them. And you need lawyers for that too. So I had no infrastructure essentially, and no way to advertise my book. So massive story that I should have just like condensed down. Like, this is what sucks about not having a script, I guess. But that's why I started YouTube, was because YouTube was a way that I could get an audience. YouTube was a way I could advertise my book. And my plan originally was to start YouTube, make some sort of content, and draw people in. And then once I had people in, I could be like, hey, like, also, if you like my content, check out my book. So it was a solid plan. A lot of people do that, where they write a book, or they want you to see their website, or they want you to see whatever sort of product that they've made. They use YouTube as a way to advertise it. So then it came down to, okay, well, what type of content am I going to make? Like, what kind of videos am I going to upload to YouTube? And at first I was thinking about maybe doing vlogs, but I was like, I don't know. Vlogs just seem sort of like dumb. Like, I always thought vlogs were stupid. And then at the time, because I started about 2.5 years ago, I think. And at the time, gaming really wasn't that big. Like, I think PewDiePie was like right on the rise. Like, he hadn't become like a superstar yet. But I think it was like in the first year that I started YouTube, that's when he like hit it off, and then like everyone else started doing gaming content. But I think at the time of me starting YouTube, I think the gaming scene was much more tame. I mean, there were still like really big hitters like Tobuscus and KSI and PewDiePie, who were all like on the same level at the time, I think. But it wasn't as serious as it is now. But or it's not as like massive as it is now. So I thought I wanted to do animation. Now, I am not an art person. Well, I am now, but like at the time I was not an art person. I was very against art, I guess I could say. And I'll go into that more in a second, but I've always been a huge fan of animation, like watching animation. Like I love cartoons, but I never thought to myself that I could do it. Like I've never done animating before at that point. I've never done drawing before at that point. So I was basically coming into animating just like as a complete noob, level 1. I had no skills, no nothing. All I had was a drawing tablet, a Bamboo Splash, and I had that because I took a drawing class in college, but I basically just took the class because shits and giggles. I also took a Flash class for shits and giggles as well, but I never thought I was going to actually use it, and this was like a year later that I actually started using it. So I thought to myself, okay, well, I've always watched Ego Raptor, I've always watched Oni, Rice Pirate, and countless others, and I love their stuff, and I was like, maybe I could do that too. Like, essentially that's what it started with. I was like, I could do that, maybe. So I started doing animation, and originally my channel was just going to be fantasy cartoons, believe it or not. It was just going to be fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons stuff, because I love Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a huge D&D nerd. So I was going to do all like D&D, like that was going to be my niche, was I was going to do fantasy, nerdy cartoons. So essentially where I came out with Dungeon Friends, that was like all like weird jokes and stuff between me and my friends. So like none of the characters, like, I mean, obviously Ingar, the main character, represents me, but everyone else is sort of like a culmination of like the jokes and stupid shit that we came up with. And I was gonna like do this whole series with that, and I somewhat did. I did some episodes, but none of the episodes really like connected. I had like this overarching narrative that I wanted to eventually do, but I obviously ended up doing like completely different animations from that point out. So I started doing animation, but like at that point, Dungeon Friends was literally like the first thing I ever created, like from start to finish. That was the first like big thing I ever made, and I'm still very proud of it, even though it looks like shit. Like, I'm still very proud of it because I actually did it. Like, that was the first time I ever went, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna plan it out, and I'm gonna do it. That's the first time I ever really did something like that. So I was really proud of myself for actually like saying I was gonna do something and doing it. Because obviously I wrote a book before that, but like still, like that, you know, writing the book just seemed more fun to me. Whereas doing the animation stuff was much more like serious, like, okay, this has gotta be good, you know? And I was really proud of it, and I still am pretty proud of it. Even though it really doesn't look that good and the animation's really not that good, I still am proud that I actually like finished something, because I usually don't finish anything. So I realized like right then, like as I was doing that first animation, that I really like animating. Like, this is something that I could actually turn into a job, because I looked around and I looked at other animators and they were making pretty good money. Like, they were living off of the stuff that they made. Now, this is before the whole YouTube algorithm screwed over animators. This was like a couple months before that happened. So I had like the bright-eyed, wide-eyed future look in my eyes. I was like, yes, I'm going to be an animator. And but I think that's very important for people to know about me, is that I was never an animator at heart. Like, I did animation on a whim. You know, like Ego Raptor, Oni, Pimations. These people, I'm pretty sure, knew that they wanted to be an animator since like the very beginning. And they didn't just like jump into it and start doing it on YouTube. Like, they've been around for a long time doing Newgrounds and stuff. And so I don't consider myself an animator. I consider myself someone who did animations, but like, I feel like to call myself an animator is kind of insulting those people, because I really look up to them. Like, I love Ego Raptor's animations, but I don't know. So what else was I talking about here? So yeah, I kind of dropped the whole writing thing. I dropped the whole author thing because I thought at the time that I could do art. Or I could do animating. So I started doing animating more and more. And now this goes into what's our time limit here, Mr. Timer? 34 minutes, Jesus Christ. I feel like I've been talking for like 5 hours. Let me get some tea. If you're still watching this, by the way, thank you so much, because I feel like I'm just murmuring this entire time, just mumbling about random shit that makes no sense to anybody. Because, like, in my head, it makes sense because, obviously, it's my life. I've experienced it, so I don't know if I'm, like, conveying this properly enough. But if you've stuck around this long, thank you. It really means a lot to me. So where was I? Something about YouTube? Yeah, so... Alright, so this goes to my next point. Why I stopped animating. So if you've been with me for a while, you'll notice that I stopped doing animations. And there's no one specific reason why I stopped doing animating. So I've tried to like talk about this a little bit in the streams, but as I said before, it's hard to like go into anything in detail because, you know, I'm usually talking to like a million people. So, a million people, wow, way to put yourself on a pedestal, Pat. I'm usually, you know, it's not one thing. So let me go more into depth about why I stopped doing animation. And I don't want to say never. I don't want to say that I'm never going to make another animation, but the likelihood of it happening is very slim. Unless if something just like, if a lightning bolt just like strikes me one day and I'm just like, I have to make this animation. You know, like that's the only way that it's probably going to happen. So doing animation on YouTube is quite challenging. And I use the term animating very loosely because I don't consider myself on the same level as someone like Egoraptor. I don't consider my stuff to be of very high quality. Like, I think out of 10, my quality is maybe like a 2 or a 3. My animations are not that hard to make. They're actually very simple. They're just time consuming. But I learned how to animate in the environment of YouTube, meaning I learned how to animate quickly and efficiently. So like learning how to do things the quick way instead of learning them the right way. Like, I really don't do frame-by-frame animation. I kind of do. I don't know. It's like a weird style that I sort of made on my own. And it's very cheap. And it's not... I know it sounds like I'm being modest, but, like, I honestly don't think my animations look good. None of them look good to me. Like, compared to what I wanted them to look like in my head. But that's also because I didn't know how to draw as well. But when you're on YouTube... YouTube wants you to put out content as frequent as possible. I mean, that's why Let's Players put out 2 videos a day. Is because that's how you stay relevant. I mean, if Markiplier or something missed a week of uploads, his views would go down significantly. So it's, you know, it's tough with YouTube doing animation because the way YouTube works, it's constantly forcing you to make more and more content. Like, you can't stop, you know what I mean? So... And, like, obviously with animation, I can't just, like, pump out an animation one day. So I learned how to do animation quickly and not always... It was always quantity over quality, which is kind of YouTube's thing. Which makes sense. I mean, that's their business model, and that's just the way it is. Like, that's not really under their control. Like, quantity does outweigh quality on YouTube. That's just the... I'm trying to think of the word for it. The way it is. I don't know. There's a better word for it. I just can't think of it. So I'm a writer over here. Mr. Author and all of his words. So I just... It's hard to make a living on YouTube. After doing YouTube for like 6 months, I quit my job. I used to work in an electronics store. And I liked the job, but at the same time I hated the job. But I saw a future in YouTube. Which is what's so amazing about YouTube is anyone can make it. But on top of that, that's also what's bad about YouTube is that anyone can make it. So the thing that makes YouTube so great is also the thing that makes it kind of mediocre and why Hollywood and like the big media won't take YouTube seriously is because any talentless schmuck can just go on here, you know, swing his ass around and all of a sudden he has 1 million views. Or girl, you know, anyone can just do the stupidest thing. And it's not about talent, it's just about how how well can you get views, essentially. But that's a whole nother topic. So doing YouTube and doing animating is really tough, and it's not always the best way to make money, because sometimes I would put out an animation, and I'm talking about like the Jacksepticeye Markiplier animations. Sometimes I'd put out one of those, and I'd make some pretty damn good money. But then, and like I spent a week on it. So essentially it's like this. It's like I spend a week on an animation, and I put it out, and it makes me like, I'm just gonna say like $500. So it's like, wow, that was a really good week. I made $500 with this week-long animation I just did, because it usually takes me about a week to make a minute and a half of animation. So, and then like the next week I'll work on another animation, and it brings me back like $20. So it's very inconsistent. It's not a good way to make money, to be honest. I mean, if you have another job, then yeah, it's great, because then you can just kind of get more money on the side. But for an animator, like I was working from like 8 in the morning to like 9 at night or 10 at night, just working like all day trying to make an animation. And yeah, that was like, there was a little bit of a voice crack there, but I tried to bring it back. I don't think I did it though. Maybe I'll just edit that out. I don't know. I need more tea time. I feel like the Mad Hatter drinking all this tea. Anyway, so it's tough, because animating is so, it's hard to like make money consistently, because if you're gonna buy a house, if you're gonna like do things on your own, you need to have like you need to know you're gonna get this much money every single month. And with YouTube, you don't know. You could have like a really good month, and then the next month is like abysmal. And I won't even talk about the Frederator stuff too. Like I could spend a whole podcast talking about Frederator. That was the MCN that I was with when I first started, and they were awful. I highly recommend not joining them, because they're really, really bad. I recommend not joining any MCN. I made an animation about NCNs and how they're a total scam. MCNs are multi-channel networks, by the way. So the first reason why I stopped doing animating is because it's not financially stable. I just can't make a stable amount of money doing animation. And that's, it's not a bad thing. It's just, I couldn't pull it off. I mean, there's a lot of other animators who can pull it off. There's a lot of other animators who have Patreon to like back them up and stuff. And I started a Patreon before, but I just feel weird taking people's money, because there's honestly nothing I can give you that can compensate for the money you're giving me. It's hard for me to explain that. And it's also because I'm very stubborn too. Like, I really want to be able to make it on my own, like make it on my own steam. Like, I've opened myself up more now to like on the stream, like letting people donate to me. But it still makes me feel weird, because I feel like I'm not giving you something that's worth money. And I don't know. Maybe maybe it's just me. But so that's a big reason why I stopped doing animation, is because the money is really hard to come by, and be like stable. Then again, there are other animators who do it. There are animators who can pull it off, and I'm not trying to turn anyone away from being an animator. Like, it's a lot of fun. I do like making animations, but not as a job. Like, if I can make an animation on my own time and just take whatever time I want to doing it, then I would do it. But I guess it's just not for me, I guess. Another big reason, and probably the more frustrating reason, is people stealing my content. And when I say content, I mean people stealing my Jacksepticeye cartoons and my Markiplier cartoons, mainly my Jacksepticeye cartoons, because those seem to do better than the Markiplier ones. I don't know why, but the Jack ones always seem to do better. And I'm not going to say any names, because I don't want you guys to go check out these people's channels, but there are people who steal other people's content, and they make way more money off of it when they steal it. Some of these channels are even verified, which I don't know how the hell that happened, but there are channels that are dedicated to stealing other people's content. And then what happens is they take that content and they put it into compilations. So I don't know if this is true anymore, but the way I was for the past 2 years, the longer the video was, the more money it would make. So like an animation's only, well, one of my animations is only like a minute and a half long. So those ones usually didn't make that much money unless they got like 1 million views. But when you put that in a compilation with other people's animations, you can make a lot of money because it's stuff that's high. It's like a lot of buzzwords like Five Nights at Freddy's, Jacksepticeye, animated. Like those are really big buzzwords that the search engine loves. Like you'll always see stuff like that in the suggestion box because it's stuff that people always look for. So these channels will steal other people's animations and put them into compilations and just rake in the views. And what the viewers don't understand is that this is stolen content. They don't understand that it doesn't matter how many times you dislike the video, they're still gonna make, this is something that people need to understand. Likes and dislikes, that whole feature has no mechanic. There's nothing to it. There's no function to it. It doesn't actually do anything. You can have a video that gets 1 million dislikes and 0 likes. It's still going to make the same amount of money. It's still going to have the same spot in the search bar. It literally does nothing. It's just there just for shits and giggles to make people feel like they're more engaged with the video, I guess, or to make people want to dislike it more. I don't know. But, the next time you dislike something, just remember that it doesn't actually do anything. Another thing is, so these people would make money off of stealing other people's content. And since it was in a bigger video, they would make more money off of it. Now, the problem with this is that I can easily just go in and copyright claim it. But I can only copyright claim it if I find it. That's the biggest problem, is that there's so many of these, most of these channels are owned by the same guy. Like, he just makes a bunch of channels and he just keeps uploading the same video over and over again. He just keeps taking the same cartoons but putting them in a different combination so that it appears to be a new video. So like when you're watching it, you're just like, oh, well, I've never seen this cartoon before. But then you realize that the rest of the cartoons you've seen before. So what they do is, if I don't find the video, because the copyright claim isn't automatic, I have to actually put it on there. So if I don't find the person's thing, they start to make money off of my cartoons. And if I don't find them within 30 days, they rake in all the money that video made. Because YouTube pays you monthly. When you do YouTube, you only get paid once a month. So if he gets paid for that, then he gets paid for that. Like YouTube can't take that money back. So if they get away with it that's what they try to do, is they try to open shop for 30 days. And it doesn't matter if they get copyright striked or terminated after the 30 days because they've already taken the money. I mean, the one guy made I think almost $6,000 off of my stolen shit, which is way more than what I made. And this is just the one channel. I don't even know if he has other channels. So that was another big reason that I stopped doing animation too, is because it's way too easy for people to steal my content and then even make even more money off of it. And YouTube promotes these people because their videos are longer. Because I noticed in when I put out my sister location animation, which did really well, I noticed that when I put out the second one, the guy took the second one and his was showing up in Jacksepticeye's suggestion box higher than mine. And it was only because it was longer. And it wasn't even his video. So he's raking in the views. And so yeah, that's a huge reason why I don't do animation anymore, is because I can't stand seeing people take my stuff. I mean, if someone were to take this podcast, or if someone were to take highlights of my stream and make money off of it, fine, whatever. Because it didn't take me as much effort to make those as it did an animation, which I spent weeks on, or a week and a half on. So I don't know. It's something that YouTube needs to fix, but I feel like it's something that YouTube's never gonna fix, because if someone steals my stuff, then YouTube's also getting paid for that too. So YouTube really doesn't care. But because YouTube makes money regardless. If some YouTuber that everyone hates, spreads hate and they get tons of money or tons of views, YouTube also gets tons of money. I don't know if that makes any sense, but whatever. That's a whole another topic too. I feel like there's another reason. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, and the third reason, and this is sort of like a minor reason, and this is sort of just like an opinion as well, but I feel like I wasn't getting better at animating. Like, I sort of just plateaued after a while. And it's also because, like, it would take more time to make the quality of my animations better, and YouTube just doesn't allot me that time. Hold on, I got tea time. Is this the most bizarre podcast yet? I hope so. So I felt like I really wasn't getting that much better at animating. I just wasn't getting to where I wanted to go, and I had no interest in improving also. And that's a huge sign that something's not for you. If you're not excited and interested in getting better, then it's obviously something that you don't really want that bad. So I think those are the only points. I know, like, I'm going to finish the podcast and be like, shit, there was another thing I wanted to talk about. But the first thing is it's not financially sustainable. Or the reason why I stopped doing animation is because it's not financially feasible. It's, people are stealing my stuff. And 3, I don't feel like I'm getting better at it. So where is my YouTube channel going? Essentially is where I wanted to pull all of this towards this. Where is the YouTube channel going? Well, ultimately, doing animation, I found out that wasn't what I wanted to do, but through doing animation, I've realized that I actually do like drawing. I don't like animating, but I do like drawing. And through doing animation, I've also really started to like comic books. I mean, I've always been a fan of comic book movies, like Batman and Superman and like that kind of stuff. Like, I've always been really interested in that, but I've never actually been interested in the comic book part of it, like where they came from, the origins of where all these movies actually came from. And I go to Comic-Con every year, and I've been going there for the past 6 or 7 years, the New York City Comic-Con. And I love it because the atmosphere is really cool, and like, even if you're not into comic books, there's still so much more there for you to experience. Like, there's video games and movies and stuff like that, TV shows. But going there, after a while, after drawing, I started to appreciate comic books much more for what they actually are. Because I've never been a reader. Like, I've really never really read too many books. I've read some books, but mostly only things that I've been like really, really interested in. But I'm not the kind of person who just like picks up a random book and starts reading. So that's also kind of like bad for a writer to say that, like, oh, I like writing, but I don't like reading. So I started getting really into comic books, and there's a really cool app called Marvel Unlimited. I don't know how much it is now, but you should definitely check it out if you like comic books. It's basically like a Netflix for comic books. And no, this isn't sponsored by them, by the way. I just think it's a really good deal. Well, hopefully it's still a good deal. I don't know what I'm paying for it now, but hopefully I'm grandfathered in if they changed it. If they didn't, I'm going to be really pissed. But I think it was like $5 a month or something, $10 a month. I have no idea. But yeah, I really started getting into comic books, and I started, at the same time, I started getting into drawing and started getting into art. And I was like, wait a minute. This is a new media, or medium? Medium? I think it's medium. I don't know. This is a new medium that I can tell my stories in. I could be a writer, but I can also be an artist at the same time. Like, I've never really considered myself an artist until maybe now, where I started getting into art. And like, I might do a whole nother podcast about art and like my philosophy on that in another podcast. This is a lot of shit I really want to talk about with that. So I started realizing that I can use comic books to tell my stories, and I really liked that idea. So I started getting better at actual drawing, like realism, and drawing like comic book styles, like the American comic book style, like how Marvel is, because I'm more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan. I mean, I do like Superman and Batman and stuff, but I've always been much more attracted to like the Marvel side of superheroes. So I decided to, and I don't know if I would do like a superhero story, but just doing like comic books and graphic novels like always really interested me. Well, recently interested me. So doing my stories in that format would be really cool. So I've been trying to practice on getting better at drawing and getting better at drawing more serious things. Because like when I drew Dungeon Friends, my original animation, that's pretty much the extent of how well I could draw. And I can actually draw some pretty cool shit now. I'm actually really impressed by myself, which is cool, which means I'm on the right track at least, I guess. So I want to start, eventually I want to make my own comic books. Like I have so many ideas. I have hundreds of ideas that I want to do. And I can publish them myself and like, you know, do like a whole thing with that. And I really would like to get a booth at Comic-Con and stuff. But these are like long distance ideas. Like these are things that are far into the future yet. So I'm not quite there yet, but I'm moving in that direction, I guess. So in the meantime, I need something to keep myself financially afloat, I guess you can say. So I've decided to like turn my channel into more of a gaming thing and more of a streaming thing. I will be doing more drawing stuff. Like I would like to do more drawing live streams, but for right now, I'm just focusing on just doing gaming stuff and growing my channel and growing my audience and like connecting with you guys more. And what else I can talk about? Oh yeah, so now I'm going backwards to another question of where did Dungeoneer come from? So originally my channel was called Dungeoneer Cartoons. A Dungeoneer is a D&D term, Dungeons and Dragons. It's a D&D term for someone who builds dungeons. They're a constructor of dungeons. So I was like a constructor of cartoons, essentially, because I was gonna do more fantasy stuff, but I eventually just started doing everything. But so that's where Dungeoneer came from, and the whole icon was a cloak, like a violet cloak with these two teal glowing eyes coming out of it. So I was doing animation, but animation wasn't really bringing in the cash, I guess you can say. So I decided to start a new channel called Super Dolphin. I don't know where the hell I came up with the idea for Super Dolphin, but I think it's just because dolphins are funny. Like if I look at a dolphin, they just look so doofy and funny, and they always look like they're up to something. Like they have like this really smug smile, or like, I don't know, the way they move is just really funny to me. I don't know, just like looking at a dolphin is funny. I don't know why. So I just decided to make it Super Dolphin. So I had the two channels, Dungeoneer Cartoons and Super Dolphin, but this is when I decided to go on hiatus for the animations and start to practice more drawing stuff. So I decided to just like turn my main channel, Dungeoneer Cartoons, into the gaming channel, because I've already put so much work into this channel and growing it, so it made no sense to like just give it up and like go over to Super Dolphin. So instead I decided to bring together both things and just make it the Dungeoneer. So Dungeoneer is essentially just a combination between Dungeoneer Cartoons and Super Dolphin. I can't remember who gave me the name. It wasn't me who came up with the name Dungeoneer. It was one of my Twitch viewers, I'm pretty sure. So that's where Dungeoneer comes from. I know I get that a lot because it makes no sense. So people are just like, where the hell did Dungeoneer come from? So that's pretty much the future of the channel for now, I guess, is that I want to, when I'm not streaming, when I'm not playing games and doing stuff like that, I'm practicing drawing. And I hope to eventually make a comic book one day, and I'll obviously keep you guys up to date with that. But in the meantime, I'm going to be doing live streams and stuff. And I try to stream every day between 12 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you never seen any of my streams, you definitely check it out. We have a good time, and we keep it chill. I try to talk to the chat and try to, you know, have weird ass conversations about Genji's ass from Overwatch. I don't know. Zenyatta's nuts. It gets weird, but it's a good time. I have a really good time doing it. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about today in today's podcast. I have no idea how to end the podcast. I'm kind of new to this whole thing. I used to do it before, but we're not even gonna count that because those were probably terrible. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys had some laughs. Hopefully you guys want more. If you want more, if you guys have any topics for me to talk about, you just leave them in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. But yeah, just let you know, I really like doing these. It's a good way for me to get my thoughts out about stuff, and I'm probably gonna make a list of things I want to talk about. Also, the gameplay. Hopefully, the gameplay that you're seeing right now is Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime, which is a free game right now for Xbox One Gold members. It's a really, really fun game. It's multiplayer, but you can also play it by yourself with like an AI guy. Super fun. It's a crazy game. It's way better than I thought it was gonna be. Because I'm really not a big indie game fan, but like this game actually turned out to be really cool. So definitely check that out if you got an Xbox One. I'm pretty sure it's on Steam or something, but check it out wherever you can. Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime. So yeah, I'm basically gonna make like a big list of things I want to talk about, and just like rattle through them on my podcast, and then whatever I don't get to, I'll just carry that over to the next podcast. And so if there's anything you want me to talk about, just leave it in the comments. I'm not gonna do anything political. I'm not gonna do anything religious. I'm not gonna do anything on ethics or anything like that. It's never gonna be like a societal thing. Societal? I don't even know if that's a word. It's never going to be like that. It's never going to be a political show or anything like that. We're going to keep it to media, games, movies, books, music, things like that. So let me know in the comments, and hopefully you guys had a good time. I will see you guys next time. Hopefully you had a fantastic experience. I'll see you guys later. Bye!